Hello everyone and welcome to another video. How is everyone doing and how was your start of the second split of this season? If you are wondering what happened to my ranked games, well, I just played my 5 games of promo and the experience was unbelievable. It was very bad and you might wonder what could possibly happen when the season is freshly starting. Well, the answer to this question is very simple. Trolls only play around these times. For example, in our first game, the very first game of the second split, we got a Disco Nunu. I don't know why, how, or where this guy came from, but it was funny giving away free LP to your team as compensation. The first thing that crossed my mind was to stop playing tonight and wait at least for like 1 week or 2 to play the game. The reason why is because at the start of each season, and at the end of each season, there is a different breed of players. Those that rarely play the game. The epitome of trolls that think it is okay to play and possibly climb higher than someone that was playing the game for a very long time. Well, that's fair assuming you play to win, and not like this sorry excuse of a player. The only sad part is that my enemy team didn't deserve to get this since the game was even between both teams. I wouldn't call that game even a warm-up. I didn't do anything impactful this game, and even my team, except for the top laner, won by themselves. To be honest with you guys, I wish that this guy gets permanently banned using his MAC address, or at least his computer gets struck by lightning so that we never see him again. I even went and checked this morning and this game was the last on his account. The funny part is that Orianna was flaming her jungler and our mid laner, but the real reason why he was inting is because I always ban Master Yi, and this Nunu is a Master Yi main. I think this is the first time where I forced someone to int just with the draft. The second game was a very weird one. We had a top laner that was watching YouTube or Netflix or whatever while playing the game, and to be honest, I didn't play well at all in this game. Most of the deaths were on my champion, and there's a particular reason for this. When your solo laner plays alone, you mostly join them in death before the mid-game. I felt that there was nothing I could do in this game. I died around the crabs, I died around the Drake, and I also died while ganking. I think the changes made to this split require me to overthink how I play Volibear. To be honest, I didn't expect to perform this badly in the second game, and I didn't bother to flame anyone because this is the start of the new season, and we are all getting familiar with the new changes. The other part is that I think Riot just ruined Volibear jungle a tiny bit because, well, the idea is that they removed lethal tempo and buffed the AD carry items, forcing you to play for your bot side. In the League of Legends community, there is only one rule. The one who cries the most gets the most attention, except if you are a top laner. Top laners have been complaining about a lot of things since Season 1, and Riot didn't change anything about that. Well, they didn't make the changes needed to remedy the top lane issue since Season 3. Volibear is a bruiser, and when they change the items every season, they subtly throw a rock at bruisers here and there. This is Riot's methodology to deal with the League of Legends. At the start of the season, they buff tanks. In the middle of the season, they buff bruisers and enchanters. At the start of the second split or mid-season, they buff AD carries. And at the end of the season, they buff mages. This is what they usually do. So I think since the start of this split, we will be focusing on the bot side. This is just speculation, and I think the AD carry that will reach their core items first will most likely carry the game. The issue here is that I need to think differently, and my way of playing is always to help the top. So yeah, this game was weird, very weird. I think we lost the moment the top laner died and the mid laner died. Both of them died before I finished the red buff, and I was hoping to help the solo laners to win the game. There is no point in surrendering, and let me tell you why. Let's assume that you are still experiencing the new changes, and you find out something that only you can find through experiencing the changes, not reading about them. That revelation will only come to you if you see a lot of bad interactions. Also, there was still some hope to win this game. The moment that we synchronize as a team, we can play better. League of Legends is a mental game and not a skill game. Let's assume everyone made only one mistake and the enemy team got ahead from those mistakes. I mean, we gave 5 deaths. Most of League players will want to start a fresh one. But that's the same as playing against a team with champions that just received a buff. And no one would complain or dodge if you knew before the start of the game that all the enemy team champions just received buffs. In other words, they received passive gold in their innate states. So it's only a matter of how you perceive the game. Hence, never forfeiting is always beneficial, even if you lose the game. That game was a good chance to test the Frozen Heart Rush, and after feeling that most of the AD items are not good enough, I decided to start with AP items in this game. So I went ahead and planned to build a different Volibear build that will be around Nashor's Tooth, Zonya's, and Riftmaker. The game started very nicely. Our AD carry got first blood. And I think I have a theory that if the AD carry gets the first blood, you will most likely lose the game. The reason why is that role, by its nature, is made for people that don't care about having to win early game, but invest in the late game. That's why they added the word carry in the name. There is no top carry, mid carry, or jungle carry. They used to say hyper carry, and that only means like 2 or 3 champions. Graves, Evelynn, and Kindred. Those are not junglers, to be honest. Those are AD carries and a whore in the flesh of a jungler. So the idea is that if a champion that is used to either losing games or not getting ahead most often, and he gets any gold in the early game, it will force them to play aggressively and lose the game. I think this is what happened in this game. The top lane was almost irrelevant. The mid laner was zoning out. I think he wanted to do the split pushing all game technique, and Samira, well, she was the front laner in this game. Hence, my role as a frontline jungler in this game was irrelevant. So even though I played the game, and to be fair to my team, I did make one mistake. And I think this mistake was not that bad. Hear me out. It's not that bad because I failed to smite the Baron, and we died after failing to smite the Baron. So my mistake impacted my team mentally, and that was the last play of the game. But overall, if you ask me about how the build was, I think the build was fine. The issue is in the runes. Usually when I build AP Volibear, I go for lethal tempo. But since this rune is removed, the only option we have is Conqueror. Conqueror is similar to lethal tempo, and for Volibear to get the adaptive force converted to AP, you need to build more AP and AD at the start of the game. Well, so far if we assume that the first game a loss, we are at 3 losses out of 5. This is not a good feeling and not a good experience. This game, as you can see, I decided to go for the fighter Volibear, and that means building Sunderer Sky and maxing my bite. You would assume why when we are against Rek'Sai. Rek'Sai is similar in my opinion to Akali because these two champions have the same pattern in a fight. They will engage, then burst you, then use a gimmick either to go invisible or to go underground while they are waiting for their cooldowns to come back, then finish you. The solution for countering this type of gameplay is to go for the sustain beefy mode because as Volibear, you try to hold on as long as possible using your bite and your shield, and you endure the enemy damage to survive. The other part of this game was that we had a Camille support. Hence, if I run at the enemy team, they will have Zoe, Renekton, Camille, Vayne, and Rek'Sai. Everyone got a stun, and the moment you get stunned by one champion, you will stay stunned. Hence, I decided to go for a more tanky Volibear. The game was totally in favor of the top laner. This is the first game in this split where my strategy is working. I help the top laner gets ahead, then he projects himself in the mid game before anyone else. And to top it off, he had Ignite. You would say that my help was not needed, and you will find out that whenever I go around that area, there was a Rek'Sai. So we both knew that shutting down the top laner earlier is the win condition. But to my surprise, Braum came from nowhere. And the game went much easier in our favor with Braum roaming and Ashe giving us vision from both sides. So in this game, it was a team diff, and specifically I think it was carried by Braum. I think Braum is right. The heart is the strongest muscle. If you keep believing in your way of playing, you will succeed. You just need to be consistent and only change the things that don't go against your way of playing the game. A lot of things happened in this game, but you can feel when you're playing with good players. It doesn't have to be something flashy about their skills, but I can tell by the way we move as a team. I don't mind losing against an enemy that is playing well, or looks like they have a strategy because most of the games in Emerald and below are just hide and seek. We keep running around until someone dies, and we get an objective. Then we keep hiding and running around until someone dies again. I think the League of Legends player community converged toward this way of playing because there is a fear of not performing well when you are ahead. I also think that Riot is forcing the game into a competitive type of team gameplay and not a solo game where everyone has the potential to carry. For example, in this game, Braum carried by being with me wherever we went. Let's assume that the enemy support stayed in his lane and didn't kill our Ashe. The odds are the enemy team would be deleted, hence making bad plays and helping us in making good plays, making us look as if we are playing as a team. So finally we won 1 game out of 4 because I think the first was a draw. Even if we won, it was the Disco Nunu, so that's not a win. That was a commercial break done by Nunu Industries. I think also my way of playing is a bit off because I don't have any tenacity whatsoever. And that is messing up with my combos and fighting references. Now to another problem that I have been suffering from over the past years. Is there any champion that I can play when Volibear is taken, banned, or when I think I can't pick him in this composition? So I went on a quest to find a suitable substitute for Volibear in case the champion is not an option. To pick a champion, I set some criteria that need to be verified. First, the champion must be very cool, preferably not human or female, and must be able to deal damage to structures. All these conditions are what I look for in a champion. I prefer a brawler male champion in the game because I struggle with kiting. As I am not a skillful player, I also like it if the champion can be viable even when behind. The list narrowed down to 3 champions: Sion, Rammus, and Skarner. I started with Skarner as my first candidate. Skarner's kit is very cool, and the concept of the Crystal Vanguard is well executed. The gameplay I had in mind was to provide utility to my team while being able to engage effectively. I practiced in custom games to get familiar with his abilities and tried to execute multiple combos. However, during actual gameplay, I failed to land 90% of my ultimates. When this happens and your solo laners are not performing well, your impact is significantly reduced compared to playing your main champion. The game did not go well for us, and nothing seemed to be in our favor. I decided to focus on supporting our ADC, Kog'Maw. The benefit of playing with Kog'Maw is that even if we lose objectives, if he manages to get his core items, there is a significant chance to turn the game around. Unfortunately, LeBlanc and Cassante were not on board with this strategy, leading to constant fights where we were outnumbered. It took me a while to get familiar with how Skarner's abilities function, because the moment you press your ultimate, the champion gets stuck in the ground. And that interaction didn't go well with my way of thinking. So until the end of the game, I struggled to execute good engages. Also, when you suppress someone, you expect your team to do damage to the one you have captured. But the sad part is that you can't always get what you want. I did pick a champion that is not my usual pick, and possibly someone else on my team did the same thing, so there was no point in getting mad about it. But it was a good experience overall. I think if I tried the other 2 champions, possibly Skarner would be the first, if not the second, because Rammus is totally against a full AD composition. I don't know about Riot since it looks good on paper, but if you fail your skill shots on Sion, you are pretty much useless. Playing as a bruiser is always more enjoyable than playing as a full tank. If you have a better suggestion, I'm very open to hearing it about a champion that is fitting to be a Volibear substitute in case they ban my champion. And with this, my dear viewers, our time together is reaching its end. As you can see, Riot did ruin everything that could be ruined, even the mastery emote. I think they fired the guy who made the first one, and now they don't know how to replicate it. That's why we are dealing with this, I don't know. It looks more like stickers than an icon. Let's hope they revert this change first, then we can ask about the balancing issues. As always, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, leave me a comment, and like the video. Thank you everyone for watching. Take care and peace.